And do you know what she was crying and yelling and disturbing the crew about?
I believe we had lost communications with the sub. It was not at full depth. And we were trying to reestablish that. That does occur and has occurred multiple times on dives, and communications are restored through working through specific processes and processes that she was there to be an assistant and stand behind. And I believe, for whatever reason and her expertise, acting unprofessionally, crying, yelling, and kind of pushing aside.
Is anyone else buying any of this? Ms. Amber Bay, Oceangate's former Director of Administration, practically discredited the testimony of Ms. Antonella Wilby, former Oceangate Contractor, September 20th, implying her account was either a lie or greatly exaggerated. Ms. Bay pointed the finger at Ms. Wilby, suggesting it was Wilby's own inappropriate actions that led to her contract being revoked, yet offered no specific details other than what she claims Stockton told her. Sure, Stockton Rush made some terrible decisions, but it feels like we're entering the dangerous territory of Stockton's dead, so let's heap all the blame on him while we play innocent. Everyone is suddenly acting like they were clueless. As the 6th day of the Titan Submersible inquiry unfolded, several witnesses shed light on Oceangate's financial struggles, safety concerns, and Stockton Rush's questionable decisions. Let's dive into the highlights from the latest testimonies. As a special thank you to our viewers, we're excited to announce a free giveaway of an exclusive 3D printed model of the Oceangate Submersible. This detailed model is designed to float and dive in your pool, bringing a piece of deep sea exploration right to your home. Don't miss your chance to win. Participate through the link in the description or secure your own model by purchasing it on our website. Dive into the world of Oceangate with us. Amber Bay, the former Director of Administration for Oceangate, revealed that the company faced significant financial struggles. She testified that Stockton Rush, Oceangate's CEO, would sometimes increase his own investment to help the company meet payroll. In one instance, Rush made a deposit, enabling the company to pay its employees. Employees were also asked to defer their paychecks during tough times, with the promise of a small amount of interest and repayment at a later date. This highlighted the ongoing financial challenges that Oceangate was facing in its pursuit of deep-sea exploration. During her testimony, Amber Bay also discussed the release of Antonella Wilby, a contractor who had raised safety concerns following a dive in 2022. Bay stated that Wilby was let go because she had acted erratically and unprofessionally, disturbing the crew during a challenging situation in the communications pit. This comes in contrast to Wilby's previous testimony, where she claimed she raised concerns about a loud bang heard during a dive, which was dismissed by the Oceangate team. Bay's testimony suggests a clash of perspectives regarding how safety concerns were handled within the company. As the morning session concluded, Amber Bay gave an emotional statement reflecting on the lives lost in the Titan implosion. Through tears, she remembered Stockton Rush, P.H. Nargelet, Shahzada Dawood, Suleiman Dawood, and Hamish Harding, stating that not a day goes by without thinking about them and their families. In the afternoon session, Carl Stanley, a close friend of Stockton Rush and the owner of a diving expedition company in Honduras, took the stand. Stanley's testimony offered a glimpse into the relationship between him and Rush, which spanned at least 10 years. Stanley described an expedition he took in April 2019 aboard the Titan. He recounted several red flags during the dive, including Rush's warning to brace yourselves for noises the sub would make. Stanley noted that Rush did not drive the sub during the dive, which struck him as a sign that Rush did not have full faith in the vessel. Stanley offered critical insights into Rush's motives and how he navigated the industry. He stated that Rush was playing the game by bringing scientists aboard the Titan sub. This practice of involving scientists, Stanley noted, was a way for billionaires to court tax breaks by having research professionals aboard their yachts. Stanley, however, expressed disagreement with the term mission specialist that Oceangate used for its passengers, suggesting that the company's approach was more about marketing than genuine collaboration with scientific experts. Stanley provided a detailed account of the 2019 Titan dive in the Bahamas, during which several red flags emerged. Rush had warned the passengers about the potential noises, but Stanley felt that Rush's actions, such as not towing out deeper and not driving the sub himself, demonstrated a lack of confidence in the vessel. Stanley also testified about his belief that the Titan sub's hull had a defect, a concern he shared with Rush at the time. Stanley's comments hinted at Rush's inconsistent safety measures and willingness to continue operations despite the warning signs. In a startling revelation, Carl Stanley admitted that in retrospect, he would not have gone on the 2019 dive with Rush. This came after learning that there had been a lightning strike near the sub just before their dive in the Bahamas. Stanley, who had trusted Rush at the time, said he had no reason to believe that Rush would lie, though he now acknowledges that red flags were present. Stanley described the dive as unnerving, with repeated noises coming from the sub, to the point where Stanley was able to isolate the source. Reflecting on Stockton Rush's psychological state, Stanley noted that Rush was scared, something that became evident when Stanley isolated the area where the noises were coming from, information that was new even to Rush, who had dived alone previously. Stanley's concerns didn't stop with the dive. Email exchanges between Stanley and Rush were read during the hearing, revealing that Stanley had serious doubts about the sub's hull. He warned Rush that he believed the hull had a defect near the flange that would only get worse, adding that it was a question of whether it would fail catastrophically or not. Stanley expressed frustration, mentioning that Rush had indirectly told him not to speak about the noises heard during the dive. Stanley pointed out that despite the many issues his own submersibles had faced, he had never once found it necessary to silence anyone about what they experienced. In another revelation, Stanley disclosed that he had no knowledge that their 2019 dive was among the first times the Titan had descended to over 3,000 meters. When asked if Rush had informed him of this, Stanley admitted his surprise, noting that Rush had not been transparent about the sub's previous dives. One of the most shocking statements came when Stanley testified that the Titan's implosion was not unexpected. He argued that the disaster was foreseen by many who had even a little bit of information. Stanley expressed that if this wasn't an accident, it bordered on being a crime. He highlighted Rush's desire to leave his mark on history, theorizing that Rush likely knew the Titan would eventually fail, but continued to dive with the belief that he would not be held accountable. In my opinion, the dive he was on was the first dive to Titanic depth. Rush actually bailed about 400 meters early because even he was freaking out, with anyone other than just Rush aboard. Aside from Rush, there were 3 people on it and none of them were paying. They were literally there as specialists to test the thing. And as Stanley pointed out, there were no waivers, which is actually exceptionally weird in my experience. If you're doing that kind of novel testing, you would think that would be where waivers are most needed. They would actually have a chance of holding up in court for one thing, since you actually could say those people as actual specialists were actually informed compared to the general public who will sign anything. It was also the second dive that first hull took to Titanic depth, and the last one. The second hull was made after that since they found an 11-foot crack a month later, and as far as we know so far, that second hull was never tested. Earlier in the day, Amber Bay, Oceangate's former director of administration, testified about the company's financial struggles, mentioning that Stockton Rush would sometimes increase his investment to meet payroll. Employees were also asked to defer their paychecks to help the company get through tough times. Bay also provided testimony regarding Antonella Wilby, a former contractor who raised concerns about a loud bang during a dive in 2022. Bay confirmed that Rush had instructed her to release Wilby from her contract due to erratic behavior. Wilby, in her testimony last week, had expressed concerns about how Oceangate was handling safety issues. But let me say my opinion regarding that. I went back and watched Wilby's testimony. After Dive 79, she was kicked off the navigation team because she brought up the existing software that could automatically put the pings onto the map and told them in frustration, "This is an idiotic way to do your navigation." This was the dive where Titan was wandering around the seabed looking for Titanic while Wendy and Brooks talked about how they got close enough so nobody could ask for a refund. She did not hear the loud bang on Dive 80 because she was working on the other side of the ship. Others were talking about it though. At the debrief, a customer mentioned it and Stockton Rush dismissed it as a concern. Wilby found that alarming and went to talk to Amber Bay. Rather than addressing Wilby's concern, Bay said they'd been concerned about Wilby and kept turning the conversation from safety issues to that not having an explorer spirit. At the end of this exchange, Amber asked her if she wanted to leave. Wilby said yes, and the arrangements were made. Wilby texted and called the social media director because they'd shared a cabin to ask about taking her concerns to the board. She was told it might be a violation of her NDA and that the company was very litigious. I really think she was trying to protect Wilby, but that part's my opinion. So, Amber Bay acting like Stockton Rush just out of the blue informed her to fire Wilby was a lie. Now that I've finally finished listening to all of today's hearing, overall kind of disappointing day of testimony in my opinion, especially compared to the glorious masterpiece of Mr. Thomas's PowerPoint yesterday. Ms. Bay was the queen of I don't recall, and couldn't have been more obvious she didn't want to be there. Obviously, we know she was subpoenaed and so definitely didn't. And I know I can't fault her for behaving the way her lawyer coached her. But that attitude trying to get any information was like pulling teeth. I feel as if we got no valuable information out of her. Just more, I don't know, Stockton knew everything, I knew nothing, which up to a point I can't believe 100%. Also, I do not take her word over Wilby, who she basically called a liar, an erratic crybaby, and I am just not buying it. Overall, I just feel like she's an evasive snake who lacks explorer mentality. Mr. Stanley was interesting, way more interesting than Ms. I know nothing, and I do respect someone in the industry who actually strives to do things the right way. But as much as I may think he's a likable guy, dude went on so many tangents that I forgot what the question even was by the time he finished. It was interesting to see Oceangate being so snippy though, and getting the perspective of an actually qualified mission specialist who called Stockton Rush out on record. But oh man, I did not expect the psychological analysis and conspiracy theory at the end. He has the right to be mad at Oceangate, and it shows. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got some sort of survivor's guilt from everything that's happened. In summary, today was interesting, but I don't feel as though we learned anything super relevant. But I enjoyed the spicy moments. But this story is far from over. The next few days are crucial as more testimonies and evidence come to light. We'll be here, digging deeper, connecting the dots, and bringing you the latest developments. If you found this video insightful, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Tomorrow we'll be back with new updates from the hearing, diving even further into this profound event that has captured the world's attention. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.